I sat behind a folding table. It was overlain with a purple cloth, printed handouts, and my own crossed hands, with fingernails that could have used a good clipping. The faint smell of hot dogs lingered in the air, along with children's voices crying out in every direction. The wagon I had built for the last 4th of July parade was behind me, providing less shade than I would have liked, although I had painted, sponged, and stenciled it intentionally to give off a distressed, crackled look. Everything was wrong. It somehow lacked that sublime realism of the vehicle I had seen so vividly in my dreams. By sublime, I speak of its most ancient definition, the sublime from which subliminal is derived, that power to impress upon the mind awe. Above me, a banner emblazoned with the word Riddlesbrood hung on top of the wagon, along with 2 flags beside it, drooping lowly about their poles, both bearing the golden Harkin on a dark purple field. I looked away. My throat was dry. The act of swallowing had become a dreadful chore. It was too warm an afternoon for a promotional event. Far better a day to murder someone you never much liked and throw their corpse somewhere off the turnpike. I'm sure you know the feeling, right, listener? Point is, I regretted having traded our strolling entertainment for a free spot in that chaotic street fair that day. I'd arrived wearing shorts and a t-shirt, but unfortunately, I had forgotten the black pants I had planned on changing into. The only costume I could find to cover me was a large multicolored and heavily woolen wizard's robe, topped with a pointy blue hat. My newly acquired and bizarre appearance was exaggerated by the sweat streaming off of me, and something was crawling on my arm. I shuddered and swatted at the red sleeves of my robe, dislodging a large brown spider, which horridly creeped across the table. As I watched, its little legs maneuvered it over several flyers and business cards I had carefully laid out before it came to a rest on a CD player, which was playing our company theme song over and over again. Grasping a pen, I disturbed the legged thing, allowing it to stride about the purple cloth again. With a quick strike, I thus added the spider's corpse to the already interesting assortment of props cluttering the tabletop. An old hourglass, 3 brass pyramids, and a bunch of gold glass beads were scattered on the table to attract curious children with their wayfaring parents in tow. Around me, many other vendors were all spread out like a wild bazaar. They were selling ice cream, knickknacks, antiques, paintings, everything but leather underwear, and, come to think of it, they might have had that too. Although the sun baked down on the space that was provided for us, a shady oak overhung a neighboring white tent. As I looked over, I noticed one of those so-called squirrels corkscrew its way up the tree trunk. Always around, aren't you? An older man with a white beard, sunglasses, and fanny pack wandered up to me. At his approach, I put on a pair of flashing LED sunglasses that blinked obnoxiously.
You some kind of a theater troupe?
He asked, inflecting the question like an interrogator, asking as if my answer had better be adequate, or I might spend the night in his dungeon.
Indubitably! Methinks so, your grace!
I belted out in my well-worn medieval accent. Standing up, I handed him some of our sales materials.
Take a flyer, sire! We do shows of every theme, pirates, wizards, and Halloween! Call us if you wish to hire the entertainment you desire!
Interesting,
he responded, as if weighing my words for any sign of duplicity.
So, you do theater shows somewhere?
Everywhere, your beardedness!
I returned with an overly large and toothy smile.
Would you care to buy a pair of flashing, blinking glasses? Only $5.
I'm not sure,
he said, sliding his thick fingers up and down his suspenders.
How's about you let me read your mind?
His eyebrows visibly rose above his dark glasses at this.
No thanks,
he said, then wandered off with an almost bureaucratic slowness.
Farewell, then. Do be careful of the sewer rats, sire. They get the nibbles in the heat, you know.
I sat back down and continued to organize the items on the table, partly out of boredom and partly perfectionism. Finally, Ozzy and a young redhead wandered up to the wagon.
Hey, Mr. Wizard, by the way, I see you brought the heavy wagon. Why the fuck are you wearing that?
Ozzy demanded.
Don't ask.
I took off the glasses and set them down.
Glad you could finally make it. I had to set up everything myself.
Couldn't find a place to park, bro. Hey, where's your pops?
He said he was sick.
Sure he did. What do you want me to wear?
How about Clyde?
Once I suggested this, Ozzy's face suddenly assumed an overly dramatic and grotesque expression. The sort of expression one would have if they found a dead body in their bed.
Why don't you wear Clyde? That shit's hot as hell.
Ozzy shouted, immediately attracting unwanted attention.
You mind watching your language? There's kids around. I already got this on. Besides, you're tall. It fits you better.
No, it doesn't. It's too big for me.
I pointed down to my baggy robes, parted them, and revealed my shorts underneath.
Fine. Where is it?
In the bag, behind the wagon.
What did you want me to wear?
Asked the girl in her mid-20s whom we referred to as Red. Please understand that I cannot tell you her real name. Her nom de plume will have to suffice. She has advised me that due to her unused equity card, it is imperative that her true name remains a secret.
I brought the wench costume, Red. Or you could be a gypsy.
Is it okay if I wear this princess gown I brought instead?
She held up the costume, a light blue dress with puffy white shoulders and a tiara.
Fine, yeah. But I need you guys to do a flyer run soon. Down a few of those lanes. I want to hit it while it's still busy around here. We need the business,
I said. Ozzy was looking through one of the large bags behind the wagon and groaning in frustration.
Hey! It's not in here!
Yes, it is. I packed it myself.
No, it's not!
Yes, it is, you fucking retard!
I didn't say that, but I wanted to. He walked around with the empty costume bag when he glanced over to the hat rack sitting in the wagon.
Ugh, it's on that stupid hat rack. I thought you locked that thing in a closet for good.
I spun around, startled to discover that he was right. Clyde was there, hooked on, or hooked by, that artful prop. It was standing there in the shade of the wagon with the gloomy mysteriousness old grandfather clocks usually possessed. Though I did not remember unpacking the costume, there it was. He's tired of being ignored.
Maybe it's up to its old tricks again. Or so I've been told.
Red said with a smile.
All right, Clyde P. Riddlesbrood,
Ozzy said, tearing the costume off the stand and throwing it over his arm.
You're coming with me.
Hello. Can I get a flyer?
A woman asked as she thumbed through some promotional photos on display.
My pleasure, your majesty,
I said, taking one from the table and handing it to her. When the prospect walked off, Red watched Ozzy examine the costume in his arms.
How's the wife and kid?
She asked.
Fine, the usual.
By the way, I'm curious.
Red began to ask.
Why P?
I froze and shot her a look of childish confusion.
I mean, Clyde P. Riddlesbrood. What's the P stand for?
I continued looking her in the eye as I thought deeply about the question. The middle initial had been placed there for mere aesthetic value by my old benefactor at the Cedar Barn, but it had never really occurred to me what it might signify. Our unified stare was becoming uncomfortable, and yet she had not blinked. This fact seemed to apply a pressure to my mind, demanding an answer. But for the longest time I sat dumbfounded, shuffling clever P-words around in my head, hoping to land on something plausible. Purple? Perplexing? Pep talker? Pathological? She still had not blinked, nor had I, and the hot air was drying out my eyes. I felt I had to find something suitable, some august fact to describe him. Painful, perilous, periodic, pernicious? Her eyes began to squint with disappointment. For some reason that bothered me and, moreover, put me to the task with an irrational clout. I felt she suspected that it, indeed, had no meaning. I could not let that stand. Finally, and for reasons I do not remember, a word suddenly came bursting to the forefront of my mind and reverberated with a force of its own.
Perseverance,
I said. She immediately seemed pleased with this response, and I, too, felt a deep sense of relief with that moment's closure.
Now, do you mind getting dressed?
I said, wiping the sweat from my forehead. The two of them sauntered back behind the wagon to change while I continued to pass out flyers to passers-by. Perseverance? As I sat there pondering the strange moment that had just taken place, I felt the heavy stares of the vendors next to me and so glanced over to them. They were a man and wife team selling candles shaped like angels and cupids under an expensive easy-up tent. They had no customers, yet continually looked toward us and our far more visually interesting setup. We were getting more attention, and they watched us with obvious envy.
All right, I'm ready, sir!
Ozzy burst out in the purple costume I had avoided. For some reason, Ozzy's Clyde always spoke in a silly, foppish accent similar to the voice he used for our yearly Dickens Christmas carol. He came over, slapped my back, and flopped into the open chair next to me.
You seem glum, wizard. What's got you down? Life? Strife? Your wife?
After he spoke, he looked at me with a wide-open, honest face that was surprisingly full of warmth. I felt a sudden urge, a fleeting, careening aspiration to reveal the entirety of the oddities I had concealed from every living being for so long. My need to unburden all these secrets almost overtook me. I began reasoning with myself. Should I tell him the costume that he was wearing was likely possessed? Should I explain that the human background around us all, when assembled, unlocked some congruency between worlds? And how could I convince him that I had been devoured by squirrel-like creatures that had crawled out of a rusty sea? In the end, I did none of those things. I kept the knowledge to myself as I had always done, for I was certain of one thing. I did not wish to have my sanity questioned, least of all by actors. So I waved my hand in a dismissive sort of way, to which he let out a sigh. Red skipped out from behind the wagon.
Ready, me lords.
Said the princess after emerging triumphantly.
Just needed a little makeup.
Yeah, congratulations. There's a bunch of flyers in a box over here, and the vendors up and down the streets. Just make the circuit a few times, and then you can take a break. I got some bottled water in the wagon, too.
H2O, baby.
Ozzy said, running back to grab a bottle.
By the way, the schedule looks pretty light this fall.
Yeah, well, that's why we're here. I'm working on it.
I said as he uncapped the water.
Well, you better work harder. I need some green stuff.
He said in one of his half-joking manners he often used to obscure a rude but truthful remark. A couple of seniors walked up, prompting me to reaffix my flashing glasses. They slouched and scowled as they advanced, obliging me to dislike them immediately upon sight.
Oh, what are you people selling?
One asked.
Entertainment, me ladies. You both look like you could use some.
They walked away with a sneer.
That was effective. You know, you've been acting strange lately.
I let out a long breath and shook my head. Meanwhile, Ozzy was whistling the theme song along with the music player.
Just been busy and,
I said before being cut off.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Red and I looked over to the voice, which called over to us from the angel tent.
9 o'clock this morning, we set up our tent and have been sitting on this street baking ever since. There's a lot less people here than we were led to believe, and your corny music and weird behavior is scaring away the customers that actually are around. Why don't you show a little respect for your fellow vendors and tone down your antics?
I turned my head towards them with a grin and responded in the high-pitched voice of a madman.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Would you mind repeating all that again?
Red snickered, and the man ducked back behind his shelf of melting angels, likely unimpressed with my quip. I could hear his angry mumblings as a mother pushed her stroller up next to the table.
Do you have a flyer?
Yes, your loveliness. And be sure to check out our website for murder mysteries.
I stared at the two actors and pointed to the box of flyers at the foot of the table.
All right. I guess that's our cue to get going.
Ozzy said to Red. He picked up Clyde's purple top hat from the clothes tree before spotting a couple of small children standing near the angel vendors. Ozzy put on his hat and began to loudly sing a silly song while making grand sweeping gestures with his arms. The vendor peeked between his merchandise and shot me a disapproving stare. The kids nearby, however, shot Ozzy wild smiles.
Children, young and old, who cares to see a bit of magic?
His loud and bombastic English barker voice carried far across the aisles of vendors, capturing the attention and curiosity of the children hanging about. With a twirl, he drew some flash paper from his pocket and ignited it into a brilliant flame. The kids immediately ran over to our wagon, and the parents followed, the wife setting down her unpurchased Cupid.
Stop by any time. Our candle shop is just...
But it was too late. They were already gone. The kids giggled and the parents fell about clapping as Ozzy performed.
Welcome and salutations, all ye little humans of varying widths, heights, lifespans, and IQs. Crank up the music!
Oh, yes, Professor.
Red said as she edged the volume upwards.
Excuse me!
Shouted the candle vendor.
Oh, sorry, sir. Did you say something? I can't hear you over all that loud music.
The children laughed, and a few more walkers perusing the grounds craned their heads toward the commotion.
Who are you?
One of the girls asked Ozzy.
Oh, how rude of me. Allow me to introduce myself. For my name is, happy birthday to me, happy birthday to me, happy birthday, dear Clyde!
Oh, yes. Professor Clyde P. Riddlesbrood, world-renowned illusionist, alchemist, botanist, dental hygienist, and various other ists.
Then, with a quick movement of his hand, Ozzy performed the cheap handkerchief trick from our Houdini show to the great amazement of the kiddies. They clapped and laughed as the crowd grew thicker. What a special relationship there was between children and us verbal magicians. One joke, one smirk, one raise of the eyebrow reduced them to laughter, the very touchstone of sentience. They wanted surprise, they got it. They begged to be shocked, they got that too. Doing funny voices, pretending to limp, strangeness, oddness, and shameless self-deprecation were all tools, and we used every one. To find humor is often to find truth, and we humans love to laugh at what is forbidden to say, and sometimes what is even forbidden to think.
I need a new volunteer,
Clyde proclaimed.
Master?
Yes, darling.
Do you accept children?
Certainly, but I prefer cash or credit card.
My ears popped suddenly as that strange yet familiar feeling overcame me. I stood up and began scanning the audience, those supernatural scene shifters.
Hey, you guys do shows in the area?
A browsing man asked me.
What? Yes, your shrewdness.
I quickly handed him a flyer.
And don't forget to check out our online calendar.
I added nervously.
We'll check it out.
He said, then turned back toward the performers.
And remind your friends, we do private parties for any occasion.
Fundraisers, family reunions, bankruptcies, anything.
Red jumped in.
Don't forget funerals.
Well, they're dying off.
Red added.
But I'll warrant your loyal subjects would like a picture. Right, Your Grace?
They assented. We all posed in front of our display with the children and a few crazy hats we had brought for the purpose, and had our photo taken. Another photo to add to the million images of us in the collection of strangers. The herd of people about me grew still larger, and the heat with it. The people were watching us still, waiting for pictures, but behind them, there was something behind them. Eventually, after what seemed like 100 photos, the small gathering wandered off with a smile. Red and Ozzy strolled off into the crowd toward a stilt walker, Ozzy without shoes and the princess with pink sneakers. Maybe it was nothing. I sat there waiting and watching people go by for a while until someone came close enough to warrant me saying, "Please take a flyer." Like with long brochures, there is a trick to getting people to take a flyer without refusal. It is an almost psionic ability. As I watched the crowd, I began to look closer at their faces, their different expressions, the manner in which they held themselves. I thought perhaps I had been too hasty in turning my back on Riddlesbrood's teachings after all. The red-coated stilt-walker appeared closer than he had before, the rabble around him scurrying about his waist. He seemed to be looking right at me from behind his sunglasses.
Yo!
Startled, I looked up to see Ozzy. He had suddenly appeared in front of me with his hands in his coat pockets.
Jesus! What? The kids grabbed some of your golden beads. Here, I got them back for you.
He quickly emptied them onto the velvet tablecloth before smiling and storming off into the crowd. I looked down and saw 6 or 7 of those small yellow beads and baubles. And something else. 3 objects flickering in the blinking light from my glasses. 3 golden faces. Though I had shut him out, he had his ear to my door again. I looked over to see the stilt-walker was still standing there, still staring at me. I scooped up the little golden faces and tossed them into the box of flyers, where I hoped they might be lost and forgotten.